Everyone, welcome back to Bulletproof Selling. My name is Sean Rhodes. I'm the Chief Sales Sergeant of Bulletproof Selling and author of the book Bulletproof Selling, a guide for systemizing sales on the battlefield of business. And here on this show, we believe that hope is not a sales strategy. So we've been getting together with folks for a few years now, over 150 episodes in the can, to address this challenge. Where does hope factor in to the salespeople that they're managing, that they're seeing, and how do we remove that hope? Now, if you're selling anything, whether it's a product, a service, or maybe you're a leader in an organization, you're responsible for selling ideas, initiatives, projects, getting people on board with the next strategy of your organization. You're selling something. And that means that hope is probably entering into the picture a little more than you'd want it to. So here on Bulletproof Selling, we're bringing on people that have career worth of history in addressing, removing hope from how they and their teams sell. Over the course of the last few years, we've been able to have on best-selling authors, Hall of Fame speakers, folks that are out there in the field, leading teams, and of course, those sellers that are still responsible for carrying quota. And out of every one of these episodes, wherever we figure out hope is entering the plan, where this person sees it entering the plan for people around them, we build a system that you will be able to use no matter the size of your team or the size of your goals. So as we talk about selling in general, one of the biggest hurdles that most salespeople have to learn to jump eventually is to be able to initiate a conversation with somebody. And I'm not just talking about picking up the phone and making a call. I'm talking about like you're just wandering around the supermarket, you're getting groceries for the week. You run into somebody that you could tell might be a good fit for what you do. How do you initiate that conversation? How do you have the confidence to do it? Well, that's exactly what we're going to be addressing today. Our guest today is the owner of a financial planning firm. He's got more than $200 million of assets under management and a firm believer that confidence is really the key into selling more. And of course, as we say here on Bulletproof Selling, serving more. So without further ado, it's my pleasure to welcome to the show, Mr. Chad Coe. Chad, welcome to Bulletproof Selling.
Hi, Sean. Thank you for having me. I'm looking forward to inspiring the people that are going to listen and be part of this. Thank you.
My pleasure, sir. My pleasure. So we got to share pretty cool stories before we went live. Love to hear a little bit about your sales journey. How you started in sales. You were doing some interesting things to get over the fear that you had of picking up the phone and cold calling. Let's talk a little bit about how you came up in the world of sales.
Well, my journey is definitely interesting to most in that I grew up with special ed. So I started in first, second, third grade. My third grade class was a teacher, 3 kids, cattle prod, padded walls. I was just out there. I was the class clown. I was out there. At about 13 years old, the Boy Scouts had a challenge to sell popcorn, and the winner would get a bicycle. So I would go out door to door and realize that people were super nice. They'd buy your popcorn, and at the end of the day, I won the bicycle. That was my first challenge. Fast forward, right? We talk about hope does not produce results. This is the theme of your show. And so I have learned that if you don't knock on the door, ring the doorbell, or make the phone call, or ask, you're never going to get a close. Marketing is fine. Posting on LinkedIn is fine. But the phone calls and the face-to-face and having really great questions, I think, is the solution to making sales.
And so talk to us a little bit about some things that you did to overcome that fear early on. You mentioned picking up the phone and calling some folks that weren't able to hang up on you. Talk to us a little bit about that practice round.
Well, when I was in the training program as a financial advisor back about 27 years ago, I was sitting in a room with 30 other advisors where we had challenges every day and goals every day to be able to meet. One of my challenges was picking up the phone and calling because I was an advisor, not a salesperson. But I learned that you could call the operator, have conversations because they all have income, they all have retirement, and you could have conversations with them around what you do, and they're not allowed to hang up the phone on you. And they're nice. And so I did that over a dozen times, and I did that multiple days as the target market just to get used to dialing the phone, having people pick up, and kind of being able to share my story. Eventually, it became ingrained in me that it was a safe place to be able to do. And I made the phone calls. One of the things, I live in Chicago, I cold walked the Sears Tower. And as I was being escorted from the top floor when I went to the Sears office, I was asking the security guard for his business. Now, I wasn't expecting to get it, but I was practicing the idea that I could ask for business and not be afraid of rejection, which I think most people are afraid of rejection, right? We're afraid of the no. We work so hard for sales. And at the end of many months of working so hard in sales, people say, no, I'm not interested. After all those hours of work, where's the follow-up questions? Where's the confidence to be able to continue to move the relationship forward to get the business?
And so that's what we're going to talk about next, because I'd love to know. We may know the answer already, but I have to ask this question because you've been able to deal with thousands of people over the course of your sales career. You know a lot of other financial advisors, folks who are not performing as well as you because you've been able to figure this out. Where do you see salespeople, other advisors even, fall back on hope? Where does hope enter the picture for them in ways that it shouldn't?
Well, we know that hope, when we have hope without sales, I don't think we have the confidence to stand in front of someone and say, hey, Sean, what are you doing with your money? I'm curious. This is a great question. I'm curious. Do you have a financial advisor or someone that you've hired to help you reach retirement so that you could have dignity and a lifestyle that you have today? And the other question is, if you tell me that you're happy, I would ask if you want to be happier.
Great follow-up.
Right. So we have to have questions, and that questions that we're comfortable with, no matter who we're around. I have a brother, he lives on Fisher Island, and I'm around people there that have ultra high net worths. I cannot be intimidated or afraid to ask them, hey, by the way, do you have a financial advisor or someone that helps you reach retirement? And by the way, if you have someone, I'm curious, what do you like about them? If you're able to engage them in tennis or golf or pickleball or any sport, while you're playing with them in between games, you could ask. And the other thing is, if your
have those
target
questions
market,
teed up to have them ready, I think that's really the key for a lot of salespeople, to have the confidence to do it. So
right.
I'm curious to hear from you then, Chad. If we were going to build a system around this, because it's something we haven't addressed at Bulletproof Selling. We talk a lot about tactics, buyer profiles, ICPs, generating the calls. But you're talking about something that's more of a mindset. And we all know that skill set is directly tied to mindset. So let's build a system as salespeople ourselves, and for every salesperson listening out there, that will allow us to have the confidence to be able to initiate those conversations just out and about, right? Like you said, in between games. So in the military, every new system that we brought to bear on the battlefield removed hope from how we operated, allowed us to perform at a higher level, trimmed hope away from our strategy, if you will. So here at Bulletproof Selling, we use this acronym TRIM to build our systems. Now, the T in TRIM is the trigger. If I want to trigger a system that allows me to be more confident without moving into the steps of the system quite yet, I just want to know how often I should be doing this as a salesperson. Is this something I should be looking at daily? Is it before every conversation and call? Is it something I do every week? How often would you recommend I trigger this system to make sure I have the confidence to generate the conversation?
I'm going to go with the fact that we have to do it every day. We might have to do it every hour. I look at you with the flag above your head. I look at you with the shirt that you have on. It drives me. It gives me energy. I have a personal trainer in the morning, 2 days a week. He gives me energy. I look forward to doing the push-ups and the presses and the different things, because when I leave, I'm energized. But I've come up with myself over the years 7 secrets to unlimited confidence. Now, these are my 7 secrets. And Sean, you have your 3 or 4 or 5 secrets to your confidence, the things that you do that drives you, as well as everyone listening might have 1 or 2. But if you wake up every morning, and this isn't one of the secrets, but you start to ask yourself, what is it that you want? And then you could even vision the results and the close. That's why we're doing this. But my secrets are, as an example, to trust first. If you sit in a room with 25 people, half of them don't trust first. Raise your hand if you don't trust first. If you don't trust first, people could feel it instinctually, and they don't necessarily want to do business with you because you're the pessimist who says, I'm afraid. I trust that everybody wants to talk to me, and that they're all going to call me back, and that I just need to make that one more reach out. The other thing is we need to sell from the heart. So you have to share your story. I shared mine. Why am I in this business? Because I grew up in special ed. A ton of people helped me become successful. And now it's my turn to give back. And I have become an expert, which is the next secret, at helping people retire comfortably and to make sure that their money outlives them. So we have trust first, share your story. What's your why is number 2. To be an expert, what are you great at? It could be one thing, but just be great at it and be able to share. As an example, when someone has PhD after their name, they're an expert, they're someone that they could trust, because doctors are the most trusted people in the community. I think it's important to be a great listener, right? Everyone says you got 2 ears, but the way to be a great listener is to learn how to ask great questions and then shut up. Ask people about their values, ask people about their goals. What is it that they want out of a successful relationship? The more you ask questions and the more you listen, the more trust is being able to build. I want you to come from a place of abundance. Always be able to say next. I don't care how big the prospect is. There's always someone else out there that's willing to hire you and pay you a lot of money for your services. There's millions of people in this country to be able to pull from. And if you do international, there's billions. Know that there's someone else out there that's willing to talk to you and hire you. And it doesn't have to be a struggle. It could be very natural. And the word next is a great word. Next. I want you to be self-aware. I don't want you to be that insurance salesperson that's constantly selling. I have a story about a gentleman. I'm flying first class while his insurance agent is in the back of the plane, and he says, Chad, I want your opinion. Should I buy this annuity? I said, knowing your financial situation, I don't think it's appropriate for you. He says, the gentleman in the back of the plane keeps telling me every day I need to buy an annuity, and it's making me nuts. On the way home, we're sitting together on the way home. On the back of the plane is one of our friends. And I said, hey, Mark, I think you need to buy the annuity. And he says, why do you think I need to do that now? I said, because you got to shut up the guy in the back of the plane. He didn't stop talking about it for 3 days on our trip.
Wow.
You don't want to be the sales guy. It becomes a joke, and then it becomes your reputation. Be self-aware. And the other thing that I'm a fan of is my last and my seventh is to be a gift giver, right? So we've all heard about this, right? I wrote 3 books. One of my books is The Auctioneer's Apprentice. I want you to be a gift giver. Get a book, send people books about things that they care about, or just get them a Starbucks gift card. And it's also nice to be able to do thank you notes. These are my 7 secrets. I think it's repeatable. I think you do it with all your prospects and everybody that comes into your life. And I will assure you that the sales will be higher than you've ever imagined. Me doing this for over 25 years consistently to any target market that I have, I'm now one of the top advisors at our broker-dealer that has thousands of advisors, growing organically and asking people one person at a time for their business.
And so we've got a series of steps in, and I'll make sure that they're captured in our sales system that we produce over at battlefieldselling.com. But I want to move into the eye and trim, because this is something that I think we all could do a better job of, which is improving. So if I'm executing those 7 steps, I'm keeping them in front of me every day, how am I going to improve how well I'm using them? Are there some things I should be looking at, some insight or advice that you use yourself to make sure that you are actually executing on these 7 things each day?
Yeah. So as a sports or an athlete, they're constantly recording and videotaping themselves as they want to get better. So when it comes to the interaction with a prospect, I want you to record yourself or video yourself interacting with someone and then giving yourself a grade. Did I overtalk? Was I getting off track? When they were talking or communicating, did I start to share my stories that they're not interested in, thinking that I'm building trust? So as you're able to videotape yourself or record yourself and play it back, you're going to be able to hear the things that you're doing that you don't like, that you're going to cringe at. And that's what I'm a big fan of, is to be able to record, to be able to listen, to be able to go back and see where you could get better, stronger, and faster. It'll build confidence, it'll build sales, and also, of course, use your CRM or your Excel spreadsheet or Google Sheets to start keeping track of the tallies of the things that you're doing good, the things you're doing bad, whether they're level 1, 2, or 3 prospect, and then always saying next, so that in your head, you can stay focused on the people that want to work with you instead of the people that you feel like you're begging to work with you.
And that actually leads right into the M in this system build, the M in trim, which is measuring. You mentioned measuring a few things inside of that CRM. What are the things I should be measuring either in my CRM or my Google Sheet, or even just, holistically across my business, to make sure that I am showing up confidently using these 7 steps that you've given us.
So Kevin Anderson, one of the top 10 tennis players in the world, I'm a tennis guy, said the way that I achieve my goals and the way that I win matches is I visualize them. So I think that for the prospects that you have that are meaningful, you need to visualize the fact that you're going to get to a close. But then I also think on your CRM or where you're keeping track, you need to keep track of your next. So it's either your next appointment, your next visit, your next interaction, and you need to have kind of a sentence or two as to what you want to get out of that next interaction. What are you going to do on purpose so that you could get a yes from the person that you're communicating with? And I have my prospects ranked as level 1, 2, and 3. And I move them from 1, 2, and 3 just like very easily, where they go from 3 back up to 1. But in my notes, I have a process and I have a conversation about how I'm going to move them to a yes. And I think of it like almost in my world, crossing over the fence. That I know that I'm extremely good at what I do at taking care of the clients that decide to hire me. And you could see in their eyes and in the way they feel that when they cross over the fence into my yard, that we're going to have a great 30-year relationship. But what am I going to do as a human being selling from the heart to get them to go from a place on the left side or one side of the fence and to be able to climb over or open the door and walk through and say, I'm ready to be yours. I'm ready to listen. I'm ready to engage, and I'm ready to pay you. And by the way, when it comes to money and paying you, if that's something that they care about and it's something they care about a lot, they're probably not a very good client for you anyway, right? There's a percentage of people that are all worried about fees and money and what they're going to pay you instead of the value that you're going to get from working with them. One quick example, and this just happened on Memorial Day weekend at 11 a.m. I got a call from a client on Sunday at 11 saying, I just bought a house. I need a letter to let the buyers know that I have enough money to qualify for this purchase. And I said to him on Tuesday when we talked again, this goes down in the record books for me because I picked up the phone on a Sunday, Memorial Day weekend, got you the letter, followed through. And he says, my real estate person said, I can't go to the bank because they're not open on the weekends and they wouldn't have been able to help me. So I know my value add. I know what I bring to the customers, and it's a lot more than the fee they pay me. It's the fact that I pick up the phone and I'm there for them as a service proposition for being in business at Coe Financial Group.
And doing the things that you're doing, the repeatable steps that we talked about, being the expert, being a great listener, doing those things consistently allow you, I know, to then have the confidence to be able to show up and say, I might end up charging you more than other people in the market, but you're getting more value out of it. And to have the confidence to show up and say that and look them in the eye and do it, well, that's something that every salesperson could benefit from. So Chad, we've got this awesome system for being more confident. How do people learn more about you? If they don't have a financial planner they're happy with, I know you'd be happy to talk to them or send them in the right direction. But for those 7 steps, I know you've produced some resources around those as well. How do we get a hold of them?
I think you just start with coefinancial.com is the website for our company. You could see a lot about me and the company at coefinancial.com. You could connect to me on LinkedIn. I'm under LinkedIn at Chad Coe. Very easy. I'm happy to connect or communicate with anybody. When it comes to the 7 secrets, I developed a website where you could download my books for free because I just like to get them out there because I have 3 different books at MasterMind Connections. It's MasterMind Connections with an S.com. And you could check out more about what I do there as a give back. It's a website that helps unemployed people or people in transition find their next opportunity.
Amazing, sir. You are the epitome of what we talk about when we say sell more by serving more. That's so right. All of the giveaways, all the time that you've spent with us today, it's amazing, sir. I know you're living your mission. That's always a great thing to see. For all of you watching this on the YouTube channel, make sure you're hitting subscribe. If you're catching us on the podcast version, iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify, leave us a review and let folks know that with brilliant insights like folks Chad give us every single week, you don't have to rely on hope either. Well, Chad, thanks for, again, giving back to folks like you do as part of your daily life, I can tell. Let's get out there and make selling bulletproof.
Beautiful. Thank you, Sean.